All right, I'm here with Cory Johnson, Chief Market Strategist at Ripple. And Cory, great to have you here. Former reporter at TheStreet as well.
It's good to strangely be back here.
You have quite a resume.
Yeah, including being the founding reporter of TheStreet.com. But glad to be here.
Yes, so let's talk about Ripple. And I want to start with the difference between Ripple and XRP. Can you kind of define that for us?
Really simple. Ripple's an enterprise software company. XRP is a digital asset that trades on its own, that's owned by lots of people in lots of places. We happen to own a lot of XRP. We've also owned a lot of cash. We own a lot of shares. We own a lot of computers. But the company is called Ripple, and we sell software.
So if I were to ask you, as I am right now, about XRP prices down 75%, I mean, do you have opinions on what's driving those declines?
It's a market dynamic that I can't begin to understand. Ripple, the software company, has had the best quarter ever. We've signed more deals, struck more partnerships. We have more banks using our software than ever before, over 100 banks in production using our software. XRP, the price of XRP has fallen, as you mentioned, 70% in the quarter. So they're sort of non-correlated. But we think that if our business has success and other businesses have success that use XRP, it'll start to create an intrinsic value in XRP that I think that other cryptocurrencies or tokens, whatever you call them, don't actually have.
But maybe you guys like that there's some sort of barrier between the software and the currency, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, we can like it or not like it, but they're just different animals. I mean, XRP is a digital asset that's its own thing that we happen to own a lot of. We would like to see it do well. We've got about 61 billion reasons we'd like to see it do well, and I hope that it does so over time.
And you've been vocal about Ripple not being a security, and thus not subject to U.S. securities law. Can you expand on that?
Ripple's not a security. The SEC is not good at everything that they do. They're really good at defining what a security is. They've got 70 years of practice, more if you go all the way back to the initial Securities Acts in the 1930s, where they're very quick to say, what you're doing over here you might not call security, it is. It's very clear to us that Ripple is not a security because we just don't meet those standards that the SEC has been very clear about.
So the crux of your software is blockchain, right? And it helps to sort of solve cross-border payment issues.
So think of it this way, take you back in time a little bit. The inventors of Bitcoin did something really revolutionary, and some computer scientists in San Francisco took a look at this and said, this is really intriguing, but maybe at the scale that blockchain the Bitcoin could ultimately get to, it might not work so well. It might have issues around computing power, power consumption, speed of transactions. If Bitcoin were ever to get to scale, it might have these problems. So they set out to create something a little bit different and created XRP. But what the uses of XRP might be, they really didn't know. So they took a big chunk of XRP, gifted it to a corporation called Ripple, and then Ripple went to try to figure out some business use cases that a digital asset might actually solve problems with. And what we decided as a corporation, we looked at this issue of moving money and thought, why is it in the year 2018 that you can send a text message to Rome in 3 seconds? You can send an email to Milan in 3 seconds with a rich attached everything the email has, but you can't move money in days. I mean, the fastest way to move money, if I want to move money to Mexico City, if I want to take $10,000 to Mexico City, the best way to do it would be to put it in a suitcase and fly it there. Because it takes banks days and days and days with a substantial error rate to do this kind of thing. We think that using our software, XCurrent, XRapid, and XVia, you actually will allow for the movement of money to be like we move information today.
Can you tell us a few of the companies that are perhaps using your software, some of your clients?
Yeah, so we've got over 100 banks using this. And in fact, Ripple was announcing, even months ago, Ripple was announcing one deal a month. Now we're announcing a deal a week. But we've got companies like a Bank of Santander, Standard Chartered, American Express, banks all over the world, very active in using Ripple software to move money across borders.
Santander also launching a blockchain Forex service using your technology.
Yeah, right? It's interesting. So Santander, once they started to use this internally, started to realize all the different kinds of things they could do using Ripple software, including a payment service. So they've got a service that really allows them to move money within Santander and within Santander banks, but also a Forex service using some of our products.
So what businesses are you trying to put out of business? Are we talking Western Union, for example?
I think, no, Western Union is actually a client of ours. So is MoneyGram, so is Qualex. I think what we're trying to do is let them do their business better and let them do their business more cheaply and quickly. And this software that we've sold them and are continuing to sell them really allows them to speed transactions that used to take days and do it in seconds.
So what is your advice for investors looking to put money to work in the crypto space if they want to buy XRP or Bitcoin? I mean, how should people be thinking of XRP in the context of other cryptocurrencies out there?
Here's my investment advice. Don't ask me for investment advice. I've never given investment advice when I was a journalist. I'm not going to start doing it now. People should make their own decisions about what to do with their money. But I think it's really important to understand the difference between our company, Ripple, and XRP, the digital asset.
So you're making no qualms about that barrier, right?
It's an important distinction to make, and I think people have gotten confused with it. I said to you before we went on the air, the people that say the price of Ripple is up and the price of Ripple is down are morons, unless they're talking about stock options, because we don't actually know what our stock options are going to be worth, at this point in time. But the price of XRP certainly has changed a lot over the last year, and indeed over the last few months.
So then what's your end game with Ripple? I mean, what's sort of the goal? When we talk about startups, right, they want to go public. What's your goal?
I don't know if they want to go public anymore, but I think the ultimate goal of this is to have a successful software business, to look at a Salesforce, to look at an Oracle, to look at the great companies that have been built selling software. That's really what we're going after.
We look at stocks like NVIDIA, right? They have a little bit of exposure to the crypto space.
Yeah.
But of course, the stock price of NVIDIA moves in tandem with cryptocurrency prices, even though NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang told our own Jim Cramer not too long ago that crypto is not that big of a business for NVIDIA. So what does the price action in NVIDIA reveal about the broader crypto space?
I think what it shows is that some people really want exposure to the technological revolution that's happening around blockchain, and they're looking for ways to do it. If you look at the Bitcoin Trust, for example, it's really interesting, but it trades at a significant premium to the underlying asset, and I think that's really about market access, that investors are looking for ways to get involved. I'm not saying they should, but they are certainly doing that. So when you see them looking at companies that have exposure, part of their business exposed to blockchain companies, they're giving those higher valuations, I think, because they can't find easy ways to access this. And I think, certainly with me, the more work I did learning about blockchain and then later learning about Ripple, the more excited I got about it. I'm certainly all in when it comes to this business.
We've been watching how the Facebook data concerns have sort of opened up this Pandora's box of the notion of regulation and tech. Do you think your industry will soon have that reckoning?
I think that when people talk about regulations and getting regulations, I think about investor protections or other kinds of protections, environmental regulations for one person or environmental protections for another. Investors need protection from crooks. There are always crooks in the financial markets trying to take money away from investors, trying to fool them, trying to mislead them. That is certainly happening in the cryptocurrency space. I want the SEC to be involved and to protect investors from the crooks and charlatans out there.
Well, and that's one of the goals of blockchain, right, is to make it unhackable. I mean, it's inherently unhackable, right?
Theoretically, no, but not all of them are. I think computer security, of course, is a huge issue, and increasingly so for everybody. And I think that blockchain allows for that. Certainly, XRP is architected in a way to make it safer from hacking and other problems that if you think of the way the internet was designed, the initial designers of the internet wished they'd done different things around issues of security. XRP was created with this notion that security is going to be embedded in the very underlying technology. And I think you're going to see a lot of use cases come out of it. We've got one at Ripple where we're using XRP to help move money across borders, to lower costs, to improve speeds. I think there are going to be hundreds of kinds of businesses that are created using XRP to solve other kinds of problems.
In terms of adoption, I mean, I guess when does a software like Ripple become mainstream? Is that the right term to use?
I don't know. I mean, if I were to tell you that what database is most used in banks, I didn't know until months ago, and I know a lot about technology and technology companies. It turns out Oracle databases are in most of the largest banks in the world. Well, we don't need to know that TCP/IP is controlling the way our phones move information around or our emails get from one place to the next. So I don't know that people are ever going to know what Ripple does as a company, because it really is B2B software that sits behind the firewalls at banks. Bankers will certainly know it. And I also don't think we'll ever get to 100% market share, right? So I think that there are always going to be other ways to move money in the markets, but increasingly we're seeing banks adopt Ripple software. We're seeing money transfer companies adopt Ripple software, and I think we're going to see a lot more of it.
Will they buy Ripple? Will they buy you, acquire your company at some point?
It's hard for me to imagine that, because One of the reasons a better solution to moving money hasn't come up is because often the banks who try to invent a better solution aren't trusted by their competitors and other banks, whereas we sit really independent of all the other banks, so it's hard to imagine any one bank is going to want to own this.
All right, well, it's great to welcome you back to the street. I want to take a moment and talk about
Dude,
your
it is
background.
so weird to be here. As you know, I was one of the founding reporters at TheStreet.com. I was there when we did the IPO. I opened the second office, I should say, outside of New York, the San Francisco bureau. It's just really bizarre. It's a different kind of world that I'm.
And then you went on to CNBC and Bloomberg.
Yeah.
I guess what prompted the transition from media to the crypto space?
So I left journalism, what I thought was forever, back in 2003. I quit a job at CNBC to go work as a hedge fund analyst and did that for a while. Then went to work for another hedge fund as a portfolio manager. So I actually got to be sort of on the other side and do some work, doing some investments, doing a lot of research on those investments. Bloomberg was exciting. I helped start Bloomberg West, this great TV show that we did for a while. Then I helped start a Bloomberg Markets radio show, a terrific radio show that continues with the great Carol Masser, Bloomberg Radio. It's time for me to do another startup. And Ripple, I was doing some work about Ripple as a journalist. I knew the CEO, Brad Gerlinghouse, quite well personally, and I just thought, this is a really, really interesting business, and I think it's really misunderstood. And Brad came to me with an interesting job offer, and so here I am.
All right, well, we're glad you're here. Cory Johnson, great to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me back.